And evolutionists are going to be looking for this kind of thing to try to explain how we manage to get structure and order. But boy, have they got their work cut out for them. Let's just analyze this. I fly in airplanes quite a bit, and the other day when I was looking out the plane, there was nothing down there but air. And I wondered, what keeps this thing up in the air? Is it a flying carpet or what? Then it dawned on me, man alive, I was sitting in the middle of 6 million non-flying parts. I got on the internet and asked, how many parts in the Boeing 747? It said 6 million, mostly rivets. And I thought, there isn't a part in this plane that flies. What makes the plane fly? What would I need to put this thing together? None of those parts fly, but what would I need if I wanted to assemble it and get a flying plane? Instruction manuals, right? We call all those parts complex. You can't fly complexity. Have you heard people say, how can you believe the eye formed by chance is too complex? That's not the issue. You've just said, how can you believe the eye formed by chance? Sure, a lot of parts in the eye. Hey, there's a lot of parts on the runway. You can't fly it. Complexity is not the issue. You see, you'd get the manuals, and once you had the manuals, we call that specified complexity. Remember, that was one of the criteria for a law of nature. Is it specified? Specified complexity means that you shall take the parts and put them together as follows. Do not deviate. Part A goes with B down the line. Once you get it assembled, why is it able to fly? It's able to fly due to integrated complexity. That is, the parts work together in concert. In fact, that's a good name for it. I like to go to the symphony here in Cincinnati. I go early to hear them tune up. Have you heard a symphony tune up? Worst sound you ever hear. Squeak, squawk, rumble, bang, tinkle. I mean, everything's going on at once. Then the conductor comes out. Everybody opens a score. Specification, the score. All open to the same page. Conductor sets tempo, dynamics, specification. They now all play together, and it sounds beautiful. And see, right there, we went from the tune-up, which is mere complexity, to Beethoven's Fifth Symphony, which is specified and integrated complexity. The instruments are playing together in the orchestra. So the difference between order and complexity is also important. Some people think life's about order. That's why the evolutionists are getting excited about crystals. We can get an order. Hey, order isn't what it's about. Here's a couple of fences here. One neighbor puts up the fence in the top, the other neighbor puts the fence in the bottom. Don't you worry about him? Which of those two fences has the most order? The top one. Which is the most complex? The bottom one. A good way to know that is, what's the smallest set of instructions you could write for the upper fence? You say, start with a stack of short boards and a stack of tall boards, put up a short one, put up a tall one, continue in this fashion until you run out of boards. What about the lower fence? Oh my goodness, where do we start? There are boards missing, there are short ones together, long ones together. But while it's complex, what's our question? Is it specified or integrated complexity? Bingo! Your neighbor's trying to communicate with you. He's using International Morse code. For the dashes, or the dots, he's using short boards, and for the dashes, a long board. So that would be did it, da dit, da dit, da da da, da dit, on down the line. Wow, the neighbor has to know what language you speak, English, French, German. If it was more than one word, he'd need syntax and grammar. And here we've spelled information. You see, the issue is not order. That's not going to get you anywhere. In fact, death is more like order. A crystallization, a minimum free energy state where you don't go any further. No, you need the complexity, but it can't be just complexity. It has to be specified and integrated. And that's what we have in our genetic code. We have a coding system just like Morse code. And by the way, nobody's ever seen a coding system come into existence by chance. All codes are the product of an intelligence. And that code codes for our proteins and gets them all in the right place. And what do the evolutionists say about that? Well, here's Professor Paul Davies, expert on the origin of life. So if you're going to find out how the life has evolved, he's going to tell you. How did stupid atoms spontaneously write their own software, and where did the peculiar form of information needed to get the first living cell up and running come from? Definitive answer up there. Nobody knows. One person knows. There is a book. And in this book, we read in Luke chapter 1, verse 37, for nothing is impossible with God. If we go to Hebrews chapter 3, verse 4, we get a verse that's so beautifully simple, I can understand it. It says, "For every house is built by someone, but he who built all things is God." Why don't people believe that, huh? How can ophthalmologists not see design in the eye and otolaryngologists not see it in the ear? This is why. Proverbs chapter 20, verse 12, "The hearing ear and the seeing eye, the Lord has made both of them." No guesswork there. The Lord just says straight away, see the eye and the ear, I made them. What's the problem with that? Here's the problem with that. Psalm 94, verse 9, this is scary if you're an unbeliever. "He that planted the ear, shall he not hear? He that formed the eye, shall he not see?" How well you figure the creator of the ear can hear our thoughts. How well do you figure the creator of the eye can see into our hearts? This is the same creator who once said, "You shall be perfect as I, the Lord thy God, am perfect." How are you folks doing on the perfection scale? I'm coming up really short. To be brutally honest, I'm the worst sinner I know personally. Not going to speak for anyone else. How can I face up to a God who can look into my heart, look into my thoughts? You want the short answer? I can't. I'd run from such a God. You couldn't drag me into this place with chains if that was the end of the story. But he's not just my creator. Most importantly of all, he's my Savior. And that changes everything. Loved me enough to come into this world to take my sins and pile them all on him. He took the hit I should have taken. And wow, once you know that, isn't it great to have a hearing and seeing God? How about that for our concluding verse, Psalm 34, verse 15. "The eyes of the Lord are upon the righteous, and his ears are open unto their cry." Thank you.